Hey everybody, Aaron here. Welcome back to another anime review. Today we have Persona 5 The Animation Episode 0 to review. So, interestingly enough, I didn't even know this was coming out. I'll thank the Otaku fangirl. She told me this morning that it was coming out, so I appreciate it. I'll put her link to her channel in the description box below, so that's a shout out to her. But honestly, this was, you know, I'll you profane from using. I'll refrain from using profanity so early in the morning, but you know, typically I watch anime in the morning and I don't really like reviewing a lot of stuff in the morning because I'm half asleep and I'm still trying to kind of wake up and get my groove back on with in terms of like reviewing anything. But what's funny is that this woke me up because this was awesome. This was really cool. I mean, unfortunately, this is probably the only episode that's going to exist of this right now. I do know that apparently there's supposed to be an animation coming out after the game or around when the game releases, so looking forward to that. But more so, this probably is like a OVA of sorts. That's why we call it Episode Zero, which is interesting enough. But anyways, let's talk about the episode. I'm not going to really do a whole bunch of screenshots. I think the joy and fun of watching this was something that you experienced more than anything else, because honestly, this is just really cool. And I know there's a lot of speculation with it based off of the game and people playing in Japan, of course, are talking about Japan because we don't have all the details yet in America yet. We do know certain things about the characters. We know what they're up to. We don't know what the kind of base story is, but we don't know every little detail. And this little OVA thing did a very good job of kind of showing us some of the world elements that we're probably going to expect from the video game, which is coming out in February, which I'm really excited for. I have the limited edition pre-ordered, everything for that. But anyways, let's talk about this episode, and hopefully there's more to come. But if not, that's okay. This was really cool. So we meet our main characters essentially, which is a group of phantom thieves. Now, what's interesting about these phantom thieves is they're called the Phantom Thieves of Heart, and what they apparently do is, I'm gonna suggest most likely that they are trying to cure people's, I guess sins in many ways, or makes them kind of, I guess, go against society. So in the case of our main issue of this episode, we have a young man who I'll probably show an image up. If I don't show the image, it'll be just these four right here. But we have a young man who you feel bad for him because he looks like he works for a small time gang of robbers, and he is the one that breaks the locks for all of them, picks locks and stuff like that. And it looks like he's tormented by doing this. It looks like he doesn't want to do this job. It looks like that he really seeks help, and at one point he writes on a message form apparently, which is the Phantom Thieves like website, quote unquote, where he looks like he's gonna say that I want to stop doing this or whatever. And what's interesting enough is that they accept the case, but as we learn from several elements of the episode more toward the end of it, it's not everything as it seems. And what's really cool about this is, what builds up as we see, the main antagonist of this episode and this particular story. I want to say contained story because I'm not sure if this will be something that'll transition to the video game or not, but it's the contained story. But we really get to see in this episode just kind of the characters and some of their stylized mannerisms and stuff like that. Like we have our main character, the Joker, who he's very calm, very collected. Of course, similar to Yu Narukami or Makoto from Persona 3 and 4, respectively. That's how they do things in those games because you're made to choose how their actions and mannerisms are. It's gonna always have those protagonists always being kind of, I want to say, blank slate in many ways. You don't have him being super excited. Meanwhile, you have the blonde haired guy being the one that's like super hell bent on doing stuff, being happy and go lucky. You have the one girl who kind of just is snarky sometimes, but still very clever. You have the guy with the white mask who is apparently the lead investigator. He's the one that goes into the background history of everything happening. As we learn, he's the one who started investigating on the case of the main enemy that they're going against. And what's funny is we also see a kind of dimension that apparently can be accessed by them using a phone app, which is pretty interesting. Usually every Persona game, from one to well now 5, has it where our main characters, the Persona users, always go through some medium to get to their kind of respected worlds. Like Persona 4, they went through a TV. Persona 3, it was a giant tower in the time between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning, and it was Persona 2 and 1 were kind of a twisted landscape in many ways, which is, I mean, I like the way they did this with the app because it's more kind of a stylized thing, more showing the current age, I guess, if that makes sense. So it's very interesting. I like how they did that. I like how apparently the landscapes are based off of, like every other Persona game, the person that they're going into their heart. So it looks like this app leads directly into the person's reality, and apparently it's called the perceived world. So according to the main character Joker, this world is made from the character that they go into. So if he is twisted, like for example, the image right here, you see like a twisted landscape. Because he's twisted, the world around him's twisted, which is interesting. I like that. I like that a lot. I think that was really, really clever. Now, what's also cool is we do see a lot of personas being used in this one. We see a lot of the main character's persona. We see that the other characters' personas. I noticed they kept everyone's persona to one. So right now, I mean, I'm presuming that the main character can use multiple personas, but we don't know that yet. We know that from maybe the games that he's probably gonna be able to use multiple ones, but at least from the animation, he looks like he'll use the main one. So that's very interesting. I do like that a lot of them are more so very recognizable personas. I mean, they have personas that are like Jack the Kid, who's like a pirate. You have Morgana. You have Zorro for the cat, which is kind of cool. The cat talks, by the way, which I think is awesome. So he's probably gonna be the mascot character, similar like Teddy and stuff like that. So that'll be interesting. Um, Overall though, what I liked about this episode too is that it showed that not everything is black and white. We see that the main enemy, he you felt bad for him originally, and why I kept saying the main enemy, if I was starting, I was trying to lure you guys into that if you haven't seen the episode yet, is that he was not the main enemy. He's actually more so the one that's actually hurting his brother. His brother is being tormented by this guy, and why they're even responding to him is because the brother put into their website going, my brother's doing horrible things to me. He looks like he's getting up in some shady stuff. Can you please help him and save him? And thus, this guy you feel bad for, and then you realize, holy shit, he's not that much of a guy that you should feel bad for. He's actually a dick. That happens sometimes, right? You feel bad for someone, and you learn the truths about them, and that's why I like the whole concept of the perceived world and how these characters are dealing with the Phantom of Hearts type thing. I think there's a lot of cool stuff about this. I can't wait to the game. I mean, this really pumped me up for the game. Now, what's cool about the ending too, by the way, is we see some very interesting things. Like for example, we see Igor, which is a main staple of every Persona game. He's always been a character that people have gone to seek enlightenment from certain things and to kind of fuse personas together and stuff like that. We see him talking to the guy, unlike all the other games, in a kind of not, I don't want to say cruel way, but a harsher way. That's what I want to put it. Where he's telling them, oh, I'll ask you this, prisoner. And you see the main character not be there as a guest, but as a prisoner. So that's very interesting. I want to see what there's going with this kind of other landscape, because usually in all Persona games, it's the main character's a guest. He's the one that's going there to kind of seek enlightenment and seek the knowledge he needs to keep fighting and get better and better. Unfortunately, not here, which is interesting. He probably does seek enlightenment in different ways, but he's a prisoner. I like that. It's very clever. I mean, this thing, I'll tell you, let's just talk about now some of the stuff. The animation was great for this. I love the animation. The music's phenomenal. I'm a huge fan of Persona music, and you could see that clearly they're bringing that full speed. Even the fight scenes were really, really well done. I mean, overall, just a freaking awesome, episode. And unfortunately, like I said, this is probably the only one that comes out for a long time, so that's kind of sucks. But if they make an anime for this, a whole series for this, I will be so happy. I will watch every episode of it, trust me. Anyways, guys and girls, since it's in the morning, I'm gonna get off, so I'll talk to you guys later. As always, please hit that like button, subscribe button, share button. I'll say this right now. Since this is an OVA, I will have to rate it. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to do my usual thing. If I had to review this from an A through F, which I haven't gotten to say, by the way, in a while. I have not gotten to say my kind of outro, my real outro, so I get to say that now. If you're new to my channel, this is what I used to say in my older videos, and I haven't gotten to say that in a long time. But if I had to give it through an A through F, I'd have to give it a solid A minus. We get a lot of cool stuff. There's only some issues because, of course, it's an OVA. There's always a little bit of unnecessary stuff. I think they could have added a little bit more details to here and there and stuff like that. But overall, it was really good for an OVA. I mean, it kept my interest going. It kept me caring about the characters. And even though, you don't get every single detail, you get enough that you can understand what's going on, which is really good. I mean, OVAs, that's hard to do in 24 minutes. And this show did it very well for technically 22 minutes because it was like 2 minutes of credits, a little more than that. So I give it credit. Anyways, guys and girls, I will talk to you later. Until I pass across again in the next review. That was a line I haven't said in a long time, so I'm happy to say that again. I will talk to you all later. Bye-bye, everyone.